Good morning, everyone. We are going to be joined by Mrs. Magnolia, who is the Cellar Geek on Instagram. She's connecting right now. So I just want to remind everybody about the event from on December 9th through the 11th here in the Maryland area. You can hang out with me, Coco Cutie. We are going to have a ball. So I need you, if you are going to come, I need you to register. You need to register because the bourbon tasting is limited in space. So I need to know how many people we are going to have to accommodate. So you can email me at cococigarcutie@gmail.com. And if you need to make your hotel reservations, you can go to the Crystal City Marriott website, or you can again contact me. I can make those arrangements for you. And I hope to see you December 9th through the 11th. Let's see. Do I have Miss Magnolia on the line now? I'm not sure if she can hear me.
I'm here.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Where am I?
I don't see your photo yet.
Oh, why not? There I am.
You are? Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, so I'm jumping right into it. So you okay, so I know what you do based off of what I see on Instagram, but tell me what it is that you actually do.
Okay, well, I manage private wine collections. So those are collections in people's homes, not commercial. I also help facilitate connections if somebody maybe wants to get a birth year wine or an anniversary year wine. I have a lot of sellers that have a lot of wine, and so they probably have that in stock. Something you normally wouldn't be able to go pick up, at the store.
Mhm. So
And then
how did you get involved doing that?
I worked in restaurants for a very, very long time. And I wanted to make more money as a waitress. So I started getting books and learning about wine and liquor and beer. And so I was knowledgeable to be able to table sell this stuff to people, make the tickets higher. I did a lot of that. And then from reading books and whatnot, I started doing tastings in Nashville. So I live in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, about 30 minutes southeast of Nashville. And I'll go to tastings that were held by winemakers. So then I got to ask the questions to the winemaker that I couldn't ask the books that I was reading, right? I had all these questions from the books. I had an actual person I got to ask the questions to. Out of all those tastings, one of the winemakers invited me to come work for him in his winery in Australia.
Wow.
So I saved up from my terrible meat and three job at the time that I wasn't making a lot of money. I just ate cans of tuna and lived off candles for like 6 months. And I scrimped and saved because people don't think about this, but I mean, I'm completely independent, no mom, dad, brother, sister to go live with or help or nothing. It was just me. So you have to prepay your bills in advance because you're going to be in another country. You want to make sure you have an apartment when you come back.
Right, right.
So, I had to not only save up for the ticket and visa to get there and work there, but I also had to prepay all my bills for 4 months.
Wow.
So I arrived in Australia with $20 in my pocket to my name. That was it.
Wow.
So, so I went to work in Australia. I lived there for 4 months and worked at a winery called Torbreck. It's one of the top wineries in Australia. It's right down the road from Penfolds. A lot of people know what Penfolds is. It's readily available in stores. Their high-end wine that Penfolds make is called the Grange. So that's around $1,000 a bottle. Same thing with Torbreck. Their top wine that they make is $1,000 a bottle. It's called the Laird, Laird. It has a black label on it. The rest of their wines are white labeled. Not saying they're incredibly cheaper than that, but they are more affordable. The Laird is the very top tier, just like
Okay.
Penfolds is the top tier for their wines. There's very affordable wines from Penfolds, like you know, you can get like $20 Penfolds wine, no problem. Same thing with Torbreck. There's just a range. So yeah, so I lived there for 4 months. Worked at the winery. It was vintage time, so the grapes were coming in. Came back. I finished. I worked at 3 more restaurants. So I finished the job at the Meat and Three as a general manager. Then I went to work at another restaurant in Nashville. There was a fish forward restaurant,
Mhm.
and it was my first chef driven restaurant. So the actual chef and sous chef in the kitchen. I got to learn a lot about food and pairings, and more elevated from what I could learn in books and just talking and tastings. Then from there, I worked at a restaurant called 360 Bistro in Nashville. It's one of the top wine lists in Middle Tennessee. They have a massive wine list. You get an iPad with the wine list when you sit down.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of different wines. And I was super, super blessed to drink not only wines from the list, which was phenomenal, but also the clientele that came in would often bring their own wines from their cellar, and they would let us have some of it. So I got to taste just unbelievable back vintages, like wines from the 60s and 70s. And
Wow.
it was a really, really great opportunity to expand my palate.
Wow.
When I ended that, one of those regulars asked me if I would come help set their cellar up, their wine cellar. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come do that, no problem. During the time before that, I also went and took the sommelier exam, so I am a som, which people seem to be quite impressed about. But
Yes. Listen, if you have a friend that is a som, it's like, okay, you're my bestie. because I know that you will never like steer me toward the bad wine. Not that there are any bad wines, because it's just based off of your preference and your taste. But it's like, listen, I need you to move closer to the Northeast. so,
so
so you
yeah,
started
so I
setting
went.
up clients wine cellars. Then so was that something you saw yourself doing, or that just kind of sort of just happened?
Just sort of happened. I mean, there's obviously a level of management in a restaurant with the wine list that they have. So if you have some sort of wine list, there's a management, there's inventory, there's choosing wines to go on the list, choosing wines to take off the list,
Mm-hmm.
pairings with the menu, especially if you have a chef driven restaurant, that menu is not stagnant, it changes. So therefore, the wine list needs to change to pair with it.
Mm-hmm.
You also have the opportunities to talk to the tables and guide their meal if they so want that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can start with this and pair with this, and then move on to this and pair with this. What are we looking at tonight? Are we looking at a 3-course meal, 4-course meal? Really, the higher up on experimentation a table is willing to do with their dinner, if you're at a proper restaurant with a chef and you have a proper som helping you, really you can have a phenomenal experience. Because what they'll do is they'll do stuff that's not typically on the menu.
Okay.
So they'll like go in the kitchen and get like half portions or smaller portions of meals. So you can have like 5 courses, right? That's not something that's typically offered on menus unless you
Mm-hmm.
go to a restaurant that they have a tasting menu, then that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
But just saying, when you're in that position, like really open yourself up, because sometimes you can have like an experience that normally you wouldn't be able to have there because it's not advertised.
So let's just say I went to a chef driven restaurant and I sat at a table. Would you suggest the wine first or the food first? Or would I tell you what I'm looking for the evening?
You know, my typical answer to this would have been different before I heard Karen McNeil talk in an interview with ISIS with the Millennial Psalm the other day, or no, a couple weeks ago. So she wrote a book called The Wine Bible that was my primary base book when I learned about wines.
Mm-hmm.
I read it cover to cover, and it is not a thin book. It covers everything to do with wine, and it is like, it's a very thick book, and I read that thing cover to cover. It really sparked my love for wine, that book, the way she wrote it. So I'm a big fan of hers. And she made a comment about Psalms pairing for customers and restaurants, and how you should not ask the customer any questions. You should just go there and bang it out. Put your recommendations on the table. You should get this, and this, and pair it with this, and this, and boom, you're done. Before I heard her say that, I would have answered differently. I would ask my tables questions. Well, do you have your heart set on certain dishes on the menu? Then I can help pair those with wines.
Okay.
I would ask, do you only drink red or only drink white? I'm looking for a starting point.
Okay.
Some people, may only like, red and white wines. Some people obviously say, oh, I hate white wines or I hate red wines. Well, I'm not going to go on a limb and experiment with you during your meal. I'm going to play it safe and pair with what you like. So if you want to say, oh, well, gosh, I really love this sea bass dish, but I don't like white wines. And I feel like that's the only way to pair fish, because I heard fish only pairs with white wines. Then I would respond with, that's absolutely not the case. I can pair a red wine with your dish. So let's say you have a sea bass, there's a beurre blanc sauce on there, and it comes with spring vegetables. Then I would probably swing back with, you know what? Why don't we do the sea bass? I'll pair it with a red Burgundy, like a Bourgogne, an entry-level Burgundy. It's a very light red wine. And then I'm going to get the chef to change the sides of your dish to a heavier side. Maybe like fingerling potatoes, maybe a side of sauteed mushrooms, and have those two as your side. Then absolutely, that fish dish is going to sing with that wine pairing. It's going to be phenomenal. So there's a lot of like ways you can change stuff to work. But to me personally, when I would go to tables, I would want a starting point. Get a feeling of the person. Are we looking for like super experimentation here? Like, are you open to anything? Then okay, play. I will set you up. Or are you, tipping your toe in it? I want sort of your recommendations, but also, I'm a pescatarian, and I also don't like white wines. That seems to be a tough fix, and then I can work from there.
Okay. So because you do know so much about wines, has any of your clientele asked you about recommendations for cigar pairings with your wines? Because you do smoke cigars as well. So have you integrated your profession with your cigar, I don't want to say habit, because it's not a habit, with your cigar experience?
Well, originally people might have forgotten about this, but originally being a sommelier meant cigars are wrapped in that. So originally the sommelier exam included cigar knowledge.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so you would have to know about cigars, wine, beer, and spirits. So it was a 4-parter. Now, you've got non-smoking areas, no smoking here, 5 feet from the door. Times have changed.
Right.
Tobacco has now been removed from that. It's just the 3 parts: wine, beer, and spirits. Most people think all is wine. It's also beer and spirits. It's all things alcohol. Gets covered under the exam and the studying and everything. Used to be cigars as part of that. My thought process is bring it back. I mean, why are we not talking more about cigar pairings?
Right.
On what to pair with. I mean, I've got wine here off to the side. So I've got this wine that is this bottle. So it's a Breca. It is Garnacha, which is a Grenache. It's fantastic. It's juicy. It's bright. It's big. It's also 15.5% alcohol. I might be messing that up. It's 2017, and I think this wine pairs great with cigars.
Okay.
It's juicy. It's bright. It has enough body to stand up to it. I personally tasted this earlier. I would pair this with a medium body cigar. I'm smoking a La Dueña.
Okay.
So to really pair well together.
Okay.
I have some
Now, a question about that wine. Where is that wine readily available?
each state is different. Each state have different distribution companies
Mm-hmm.
and or import different wines into their state.
Okay. Okay.
Wines can change 100%. Find it all the time. I
Mm-hmm.
found a wine that a friend of mine loved that I brought back from Texas. Cannot find it here. I contacted distributors and everything. They said they do not import that particular wine in the state,
Wow.
even though they do import different wines from that same winery. Just that particular wine that winery makes don't bring in, which is bananas to me. But as I said, state by state, it does change. I did find this here in Tennessee in a
Mm-hmm.
wine store. I think I might have honestly picked it up at Costco.
Oh, wow.
So, but for me to say that you can readily get it, I'll be backing that up because state by state's different.
Right.
You may be in California, not even imported in that state, so I don't know.
So let me ask you this, because I am a white wine drinker. I like white wine, but I am trying to expand my palate. So I am dipping my toe into red wine. What
Okay.
would be a great red wine for someone that like me, I literally almost exclusively only drink white wine. What would be a great red wine for someone to try?
Lambruscos are really hot and popular right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's wine, but it also has some bubbles to it. Has a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of sweet, so that's quite nice. Um, Also a light-bodied red wine, so I would go with a Pinot Noir.
Okay.
I would not go with California Pinot Noir; those are quite heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hotter state, therefore the sugar is higher in the grapes. Therefore, when the yeast is added, it poops out more alcohol. It's a higher
Okay.
alcohol.
Okay.
But an Oregon Pinot Noir, a definitely 100% one from France, from Burgundy, France.
Mm-hmm.
So Burgundy is a region in France, and France and Italy have these laws where it's by region, and then there's certain laws on what you can make in that region.
Okay.
Making wine in Burgundy, France, it can only be 100% Pinot Noir. If you make a wine, it can only be 100% Chardonnay. Those are rules, you don't cross them. That's what it is. So if you get and you will not find those varietal words on the bottle either.
Mm-hmm.
You will not find Pinot Noir and Chardonnay on the bottle. You will only find the word Burgundy and the region and sub-region and whatnot.
Okay.
But can get some beginner Burgundies, great prices that are Bourgognes. So it's Borgogene. It's like Bourgogne. That's how it kind of.
Okay.
Entry level wines. They're light. They're very fruit forward. Bright strawberry, rhumbarb. It's a very bright red wine. I would say that's a great starter wine for you. You can for sure find them around $30.
Mm-hmm.
Bottle for Burgundy, which is a bargain since most Burgundies are in the hundreds of dollars.
Okay, got you.
That's
so now if I because I always try to educate people, not that I'm an educator in my former life, but I always like to give people a little tidbit of knowledge. So if I had let's just say I have a mild to medium cigar, what white wine would go with that?
Chardonnay would work.
Mm-hmm.
So a Chardonnay, full-bodied red wine. I would go big, man. I would go get a California Chardonnay. That's a bang. Those are big bodied. They're oaky. Depending on the quality of Chardonnay you get, if you get a cheap one, just keep in mind if you're getting a wine that's say $15 and under, you may be paying for water. That wine's gonna be watered down. So if you go look for a bargain hunt, and there's bargains out there, no problem. But look at the alcohol percentage.
Okay.
So you're looking at California Chardonnay, you're looking at least 14.5% alcohol. Anything more than that, you're gonna get a lighter body because it's watered down.
Okay.
So look at that.
So how long did it take you to become like you said, you mentioned that you had to take a test, and at first it was 4 parts, and now it's 3. So, what is the timeline that you had to, like? Is there a certain amount of time you have to study and get your? Is it a license that you get or a certificate? Like. I don't know.
It's a certificate, and then you get a little pin, a lapel. There's 4 levels of being a sommelier. The top one's called Master Somms. There's only like 150 of those in the world. It's an extremely, extremely difficult test to take, the very top tier. I explain to people, in order to be the Master Somm, it's basically like you would take this glass of wine, you'd be able to smell it, sniff it, drink it, and tell me that it's this.
Wow.
So that's basically the level you're getting at when you're on the 4th level tier.
Wow.
Now, for me, I haven't taken, and like anything else, if you know a foreign language, if you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing. It's the wine. I have not personally gone down that rabbit hole again where I'm tasting. So, but in my height of that, I was able to break down usually country, a couple years from the vintage, the grape varietal, the region. I can really break it down. And so, I would be able to taste this and go, this is Grenache. This is from the Spain area. It's big and bold. I would say this is around 14.5% alcohol. I would say this has a little bit of age on it due to the color. I would say maybe about 10 years, maybe 5 to 10 years. I could say that.
Okay.
Finally, like that. But being a master sommelier is just way more of a step forward on being able to break down than normally you can. But sorry, my dog's right here.
They want time too. Fur babies need their attention too.
She always wants to be part of the live. See, there she is.
And she literally is like right there.
Yeah, right there. She doesn't want to be far away from me.
So when you go out, is the first thing that you do, because you know wine, look at the wine list? Is that the first thing you do?
At a restaurant?
Yeah.
Sure. I'm trying not to be so critical. I try not to be so critical, but there's certain things wine lists and restaurants do that drive me absolutely bananas. Like not the vintage on the wines. That drives me crazy, especially if you're doing by glass. Sure, leave it off, it's fine. But if you have a by bottle list and you're expecting to pay like $300 for a bottle of wine, you better slap a vintage on that.
Right.
Tell me what year it is that I'm paying for, because I want to know, because it might be a shit year.
Right.
Like,
now, has that happened to you? Has that happened? Has that happened that you went and got a bottle of wine, they didn't have the vintage year, and it was a shit show? Or did you, when you don't see it, do you ask for it?
Yeah, I would never buy blindly. Yeah, I would. But, then I just, what ends up happening is I just avoid the whole scenario. Okay. And that's terrible. Restaurant, if it was there and it was a great vintage and I saw the value and I go, oh, that's a great value for that, I'll buy that. But since have it, I don't want to go through the legwork, because then that makes my experience as a customer sitting there and enjoying my meal a hassle, because then I'm having to educate the restaurant and the server. I'm having to tell the server the importance of knowing a vintage, because then they're going to battle back with me on why do you need to know. Walk around and try to figure it out, come back. That's going to take time, because that's not the top priority. They have other tables. So then my dining experience is paused by like 15, 20 minutes, because I'm sitting there for an answer to come back. And then I have to make my decision. And then at that point, I'm also feeling pressured to buy the bottle, because then the person already ran around and gave me the answer. So then I just avoid all of that and I don't buy the bottle.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. I'll experiment with the glasses. I won't get a bottle because I don't want to go through that hassle.
Okay. Yeah. So do they have a lot of restaurants where you live at that have great bottle service for wine?
Oh, sure. Nashville is very, very culinary forward. tons of fantastic, phenomenal restaurants. Psalms are in them, you know, leading up the wine team, or just very experienced servers. Some years ago, we had an influx of New Yorkers coming down that were New York serving staff. It was in the hospitality industry.
Okay.
The Nashville restaurant industry was ballooning up. We had chefs moving into Nashville, opening up restaurants and stuff. It had ballooned up. And the cost of living and taxes are way, way lower in Tennessee. We have no state tax. And the cost of living, just let's be honest, if anybody knows anything, everybody knows New York is expensive for cost of living. Right. It's just rent and hey, come here. No, that's my assistant leaving. So no, ma'am. So yes, we have great service because all those Nashville hospitality, I mean New York hospitality, they're on top of their game. You know, if you're in New York, I mean, it's phenomenal. And really, it's quite common now for people to have those basic wine knowledge in restaurants too, because I don't know, some movie came out, became popular. People like, oh, I want to be a som. Popped up. You have a little bit of a popularity going on with social media. There's some videos and podcasts are talking about it. So you have, you know, a little bit of a wine cult going on right now with the newer generation.
Okay. Now, okay, so what you do is help people set up their home cellar. So do you also maintain those? Are you like responsible for maintaining them as well?
Yeah, so there's different aspects of it. Sometimes you may have a cellar that just got built. So I'm filling it up with the wines that are already in their collection. So you're like moving into a house, you know, I'm unpacking, setting it up, organization system and everything. Other ones are ones that are existing and they've just gotten messy. Like your messy room that you don't want to go in. I think everybody messy kitchen drawer where they throw junk in. Nobody wants to dump that out and fix it. It's just like I'll close it up and it's out of sight, out of mind. It's a project I'll get to one day. Wine cellars are sort of that way too, and they get unruly. So I go in, I organize it, you know, set up a system, do an evaluation. So I'm sure that insurance purposes it's covered properly. And then also I help consult for building. So I'll tell people when they're building a cellar, I'll consult with them on do's and don'ts and don't do this and make sure you do this. And was there proper insulation done? Let's make sure behind the drywall, there's proper insulation, studs, the unit, the cooling unit. There's all kinds of different aspects in the building part of it. I also help purchase for my clients. So some purchase on their behalf. So it's like a personal shopper, you know, I'll go out and purchase. But I'll get to know them on what their tastes are, what their goals are. Are you looking? I have a client that's mainly a drinker, not a saver. So he's not much for investment. He's looking for consumption, but he wants ready now consumption. So he wants vintaged Bordeaux's. He wants older wines because he wants to sit around and wait 10 years to drink it now. Right. My wines are 10 years old already, you know, so different aspects. And other ones, you know, I give recommendations on buying for investments. You know, hey, I think you should really invest in X wine. You know, I foresee this wine going up in value over the next couple of years. If you want to get in on this beginning wave, it's very similar to the stock market and investment. I say all the time, if you purchase properly in wine, it's more stable and more profitable than the stock market.
Wow.
Absolutely. I've seen wines within 3 years go up 4 times in value.
Wow.
I mean, we say that in the stock market, you know?
Right. So do you have your own wine cellar?
I do.
So how long does it normally take for someone to get the wines that they want to fill their cellar? Or do you start off like, oh, I only want 50 bottles. So you accommodate, you try to have that when you know, start your cellar?
That's a tough question because it's so wide in parameters.
Got you.
You know, for me, when I first started learning about wines, I had like a 12 rack on my kitchen counter,
Okay.
refrigerator just sat there, you know. And then as I traveled and I purchased more, and most importantly, when you start making more money to be able to purchase,
Right.
got bigger. I got a stand-up wine refrigerator in my house,
Okay.
so big as your regular kitchen refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
I have two of those in my home right now. So then it's kind of like any right. If you buy a bigger house, you buy to fill that house.
Right.
If
Gotcha.
you have a smaller house, you're downsizing to fit in
Right.
that house. Kind of the same, I guess, sellers. Depending on the size of the cellar, depends on the purchasing that you do in order to fill the space.
Got you. Got you.
So I think maybe kind of is to start with the space. What
Mm-hmm.
space are you working with?
Right.
And then you start going into your budget. What budget do you have to be able to spend on them? Not everybody has the budget to spend on $50 bottles of wine.
Right.
Some people budget, you know, that are looking for $30 and under. And
Mm-hmm.
you can start from there and work however you want to from that space. Just get a starting point, kind of work from there.
Okay. Well, you know what? This has been so interesting. I gotta have you back on because I really want to walk through like a couple of different bottles of wine and tasting and you're going to be my guru for jumping into this red wine arena.
It's a playground. What are you talking about,
I know
Arena?
it is. It really is. And just like cigars, you know, you have to find what you enjoy. And because I literally do enjoy more white than red, but I think it's only because I have not um given myself the opportunity to enjoy red. So it's like, you know what? Why am I limiting myself? I really need to try. I need to try. But you know, I'm old. I'm 56. I don't want to try too many things. I might get hurt.
You gotta pair them with cigars. Another great pairing with cigars people forget about or don't know is sparkling.
Oh,
Prosecco's, cavas, champagnes go fantastic with cigars.
well,
Get like
see,
a light bodied, and it goes great with it because the tobacco oil from smoking a cigar sits on your tongue, on your palate,
mhm.
and drink the bubbles, and it lifts those flavors off your palate. So it's almost like a second layer of tasting of your cigar. You know, it's really fantastic.
I
And
never thought about it in that sense either. And I've had champagne with a cigar, and I always when I did, I'm like, oh, that's different. And I just thought it was about the champagne and really not about the cigar. And
the effervescence, the bubbles will just lift those oils off of your tongue and your palate. And it's just another wave of flavors you're getting from the cigars. I mean, obviously there's wine involved with
right,
that too.
right.
But you know, if you maybe you're not a huge fan of sparkling, you go, maybe this is too dry for me or something. I would suggest to make it into a Kir Royale.
Hmm.
So Royale is Chambord added in
Hmm.
just a little bit. Don't like go half and half. Little dab in there. But Chambord is a raspberry liqueur.
Hmm.
So that flavor of the berries would go very well with a cigar. So if
Yeah.
you're not a big bubbly fan, make it into a Kir Royale. And trust me, you're going to finish the bottle off quicker than you expected. And
Hmm.
you're going to lit. You would drink an entire bottle of sparkling and a cigar or two. You're going to be
Right.
having a good time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm gonna try that.
It's a great holiday drink because
Right.
it has
And with the holidays coming, what better way?
you
What
can
better
do
way to
that.
kick off this
Oh,
holiday season?
you can go get some cranberries from the store and stick them in the freezer.
Hmm.
Basically, like ice cubes, you can add to your champagne without watering down your champagne, and they look pretty floating.
Right.
Um, you know, that's a great one to do too. I would say an actual poinsettia, which is cranberry juice added to sparkling. I would say stay away from that. The tartness, I think, is going to counteract a cigar.
Okay.
I would go with the Kir Royale. That raspberry liqueur is really lovely and will go really great with a cigar. Yeah,
Oh,
and that's like a
I'm
medium.
taking notes. I'm taking notes.
You can crank that up to like a cigar if you make it into a Key Royale. If it's just sparkling, I would go Connecticut. If you're adding Key Royale, you can ramp up the body of the cigar.
Oh, yeah. I'm so doing that. I am so doing that.
Have you ever seen a Chambord bottle?
What?
So it looks really cool. It's round and it has like gold all around it.
Really?
So it's like round. It looks amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a really, really cool looking bottle. So it looked beautiful like a countertop.
You see me with my pen writing it down, right? Oh yeah, I'm so doing this. I am so doing this. Well, I want to thank you for joining me today. And we do have to continue this conversation because when I go and get first, I'm going to go and get a bottle of red wine. And then I want to we're going to have a glass of red wine together. And then we're going to go through some of the things, to expect or not expect when you're, going through the journey of choosing wines. So this is a conversation that we have to have more of and again. So look for Davon to be sending you another email. But I want to thank you for joining me. And again, on Instagram, you are the Cellar Geek.
Yep.
Are you also on Facebook?
I am. Yeah, the Cellar Geek on Facebook. Webpage. In the beginning of the year, I'm planning on starting my show, which kind of got postponed this year. Life happened, you know how it is.
Right. Yeah, I know.
My business got really busy. Also my aunt had passed away, so I've had to deal with the administrator of her estate, which is rather time consuming and work. So it got pushed back, which is fine. But I'm planning on starting at the beginning of next year. I think it's going to be a good start. It's a holiday season, start during the holiday season.
Oh, that'll be great. I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. Is it YouTube or podcast or?
It's going to be all of the above. It's going to be a live show that streams on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Okay.
I will be uploading the audio onto podcast form on all platforms. And, it's going to be about wine, obviously.
Right.
But it's going to be fun stuff about wine. It's going to be wine history, wine scandals. It's going to be like keeping up with the Kardashians. But wine. So there's lots of stories and history in wine that I think, deserve a highlight. I get a kick out of some of them sometimes. Like, how come nobody's talking about this? This crazy thing happened in the 1800s. And maybe I'm the only one that finds it interesting. But and I'll be doing pairings as well. So I'll be talking about sake. I'll be talking about wine in cans. I'll be talking about wine trends. I'll be doing cigar pairings. So there will be some episodes I'll be smoking a cigar and pairing with wines and discussing that. It will be live first. So if people do want to participate in asking questions and part of it, they will be part of that. I will not be having guests on, and that maybe later on down the road. But initially, all my episodes will be themed on just people will be tired of hearing me talk. It's just going to be me. So.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. So everybody make sure you follow her Facebook and Instagram, The Cellar Geek. And I thank you for joining me today. Look for another email because this conversation has to be continued.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on, Coco.
Thank you. So look for the email because I'm going to make sure he sends it today.
Today? Wow, that's prompt. I'm going to be heading back in the house and working more on wine stuff, emails and past stuff. I got wine work to do.
All right. So. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. And everyone get out there, enjoy a nice glass of wine. Make sure you enjoy a nice smoke. And we will see you later.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.